You know, man, if I were any better, I would be Munson.
He's got it good right now.
I bet he's getting paid, and he's loved, and he knows he's loved, and we love pets, and this is it's just part of it.
He is such a good. Let me tell you, Jay. I mean, since you brought it up, he is such a good patient. I've never met a dog that was that good of a patient because. He has to wear his little donut to keep him from messing around with his incision, and he does it. He doesn't mind it, and you tell him to.
So he's got the cone of shame.
Well, he doesn't have the cone. They don't. We had this conversation earlier in the week. They don't call it a cone anymore, Jay.
Oh, okay.
They call it an e-collar.
Oh,
and I did not ask the woman. I wish that I did. But I can only assume that they started calling it the e-collar because, it used to be called the cone. Oh, well, we got to put him in a cone. But I think so many people have started calling it the cone of shame that vets don't like it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so they've changed the terminology.
That's funny.
And so when I went to pick him up the other evening, she said, well, he's in an e-collar right now. We're going to need to keep him in an e-collar. And I didn't understand what she was talking about.
Right.
And then finally I saw it and I said, we're not going to keep that on him. I'm going to put him in a donut. And she begged me to do it. And I said, well, you're just wasting it. But they originally had him in one of those and we bought him one of these little, I call it the donut. It's like you're flying on an airplane and you got one of those little things. But you put that on him and it's just enough where he can't get back.
He can't get there. It's kind of like an insurance collar. Yeah, if you get rear-ended in a car, you put one of these fake things around your neck.
Okay, you just inspired me. From now on, I'm going to call it the Ted Kennedy.
Did he wear that after he drove off the bridge?
Oh yeah, he didn't have it. He didn't have it initially.
Only when he's on TV.
When he got on TV and when he was apologizing to the nation for what happened, that's when he was trying to draw a little sympathy, apparently. But no, you tell Munson it's time to go to bed. You got to get in your crate because we got to, it's rest, 2 weeks of rest. And he just kind of gives you that look like, really, Daddy?
Yeah.
Got to do it, buddy. And he goes on in there. So thank you for asking about him. I appreciate that, man.
Yes, sir.
Well, Jay, I mean, it's kind of a dealer's choice. With Donald Trump, there is not a lack of things to talk about from the legal front.
No, I'll tell you what, they sure did learn a lot from the first time around, Matt. I mean, the way they've executed all this has just been amazing. They knew what they wanted to do, and they knew how to execute it. And, whether you agree with the policies or not, it's a different matter, but you just have to be astounded by the execution, the level of execution, how quickly they're doing things, and frankly, I think how properly they're doing it.
Well, and you and I talked last week during our Fri-Jay visit about birthright citizenship.
Right.
And in that conversation, we kind of hit around this idea that they had an agenda. They were well prepared to execute their agenda.
Absolutely.
And we could have political discussions on my radio show about whether or not we're overusing executive orders. But man, oh man, Donald Trump decided that he was going to use them to his advantage and kind of flood the zone and force his detraction. He knew that people would come back at him. He knew that lawsuits would come back at him. Of
course, absolutely.
But it's amazing how they're flooding the zone. And he's like, all right, which one you want? Which one you want to pick on? Which one you want?
No, and I think part of it, too, is he realizes he really probably only has 2 years. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these things take a long time to play out in the legal system. So, they've got to hit the ground running, and they have hit the ground running.
No question about it. All right, let's start with the return to work order.
Okay.
I'm curious, your thoughts. An executive order. I was fascinated to learn the percentages of government employees that have been...
It's criminal.
That have been working at home. I mean,
no, it's criminal.
And I understand that some very loudly say, I do a great job at home. I do great work at home. And I'm certain that there are some people that do. But in any given system, there's a bunch of people that are taking advantage of the situation, aren't they?
Well, that's right. And yes, he has the authority to do this. Of course, we've seen this all playing out in the private sector big time since the pandemic. My firm deals with this a lot. But an employer, including the federal government, is absolutely within their right to say, no, you have to physically come to work. And here's what happens, man. And people learned about this. Well, coming back from the pandemic. Some people will claim, oh, well, I need an accommodation because of some medical condition. I'm disabled and I'm not able to come to the office. The accommodation that I'm asking for is to be able to work from home. And they have to then demonstrate that they can still perform the essential functions of the job from home. Now, that will play out on an employee-by-employee basis. But I guarantee you, we will see thousands, if not tens of thousands, of applications for a disability accommodation to be able to work from home. But the broad blanket is certainly illegal. With one possible exception, one of the things I saw what Biden did on the way out is they hurried up and signed some union contracts and put this work from home provisions in the union contracts. That's going to be dealt with a little bit different legally. And we'll see how that plays out. But that's not true for most of the federal workforce. So, no, he'll be able to do it. He can do it. And now it'll just be played out on an employee-by-employee basis.
So what do you make of, and I guess it's a related subject when we talk about this opportunity that he's giving folks. If you don't like all of this, you just reply to this email with the word resign. And you know what? You got till September 30th, and then you can find yourself other employment.
Yeah, no, that's right. And that's a very common thing that's been around for decades in the private. And if a company is going to downsize, and they know that they're going to downsize, then they have an early option. They give people the opportunity to go out on an early exit plan, severance pay. It's voluntary. So that concept's been around forever. And I think it's smart. And frankly, 8 months of severance is a lot.
It's pretty good.
I mean, it's rich. But what I tell my clients in these situations, you want to make it enough money that it's really hard for people to turn it down. Because here's the deal, man. Here's what I say to clients. They got somebody that's working for them that's not happy, that's suing them. And I say, well, why don't you pay them some severance? Pay them a year of severance, and you'll be done with them. I said, well, I don't want to pay them a year of severance. I said, well, here's the deal. You're going to keep them working here. If you don't, you're going to pay them a year's salary.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to get a year's work out of them?
Right.
And they said, no. Yeah, well, so you're going to pay them a year. They're going to pay these people 8 months' salary.
Right.
And it's either going to be, and then they're still here, or you pay them 8 months' salary and they're gone. They are intending to downsize the workforce, man. There is no doubt about that. And at some point, we can talk about this. I've been saying for years that 50 cents out of every dollar I send to the government goes down a rat hole.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that happen in Jefferson County, Alabama, which is the county in which Birmingham was located. A few years ago, I don't know, 10 years ago. So the county went bankrupt, man.
Yep.
They went bankrupt. They filed for bankruptcy. And our friend David Carrington was the chairman of the county commission, and their solution to coming out of bankruptcy was to cut the budget by 50%.
I need to get him on the radio. We need to talk about this in Nashville as a microcosm of what could happen. I mean, you've encouraged me to do it on several occasions. I got to do it because David is such a wealth of information, and he did it. And people scream just like they're going to do at the federal level. People screamed and howled. Jefferson County is never going to be able to function. And
I think their services are better now than they were before.
And he cut 50%.
He cut by 50%. Here's the other example, and trust me, I guarantee the two of them have talked about this. Twitter. Elon Musk buys Twitter. He cut that like about 70%. It was at least 50. I think it was more than that. And you remember everybody saying, oh, well, Twitter will go dark. I mean, there's no way they can run it.
2 weeks.
Yeah, well, it's done. Twitter will shut down. It was better than how it's ever been.
Well, and we'll get this howling and screaming about the federal government as well, particularly from federal government employees that seem, and I don't, it's not my nature to cast aspersions, Jay. You know me. Right. but
it's a good thing you're not under oath right now. Yeah.
But if I didn't know any better, these folks seem really entitled to their job. There will be lawsuits, in your estimation, over the effort to cut government and to force people to come back to work. I mean, I'm assuming they're already coming, right? And
there will be lawsuits. I don't think anybody, I don't think any serious person will say that the president does not have the authority to issue the executive order that he did, because the executive order already anticipates requests for accommodations. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody will challenge that, Matt. I think the way that's going to play out is on an employee-by-employee basis. I just don't think anybody's going to come in and say my word, Matt, that's the way we did things for 200 years.
That's right. No, agreed.
So no, I don't think anybody's going to say that the president didn't have the authority to do that. That's going to just play out on an employee by employee basis. And the real interesting legal issue there is these union contracts.
Because those carry a little more weight from a legal perspective, I would assume.
Yeah, well, they're a contract. That's right. They're a contract. So those people have.
Is there any difference between, the union, they have, a level of collective bargaining that individuals don't have, and there are obviously advantages of being a part of a union. And we hear about union contracts amongst unions and businesses, but there are also contracts with unions with the government as well. Are there any differences between those two?
I wouldn't say that there are blanket differences. There is a fundamental difference between private companies agreeing to have unions and the government, and that's a different debate or discussion. I won't get into that now. That never should have happened, is the bottom line. And the original federal law that provided for union rights to organize did not cover any governmental employees. Franklin Delano Roosevelt thought that was a bad idea because the owner of the company is not sitting at the bargaining table, man. It's crazy. But if you look at the enforcement itself of the collective bargaining agreement, now the only difference may be, and this isn't true for everybody, but a lot of governmental employees do not have a statutory right to strike. That's one of the main weapons. Mm-hmm. That's the way we talk in this area of the law that unions have to get their way. But by law, I don't think any federal employees have the right to strike. And that's true in a lot of states. Some states do. They'll have the police go on strike. Which is crazy. The whole concept of public unions is crazy. And we'll see if Trump takes a swing at that.
How did and not to bog down too much in the intimate details, but curiosity gets the better of me. How then? You're a smart man, Jay, and if you're telling me that this never should have happened to be, and you're right? The owners of the company being the taxpayers, right?
Yeah, right.
In this case,
they're not there.
Right.
You got bureaucrats sitting on the other side of the table. Well, it's not their money, man.
Right.
They're really negotiating with themselves. It's awful.
How did we allow this to happen? Or did we allow it? How is it?
Can you see me? Can you see my video?
Yeah, I'm looking at you right now. You got a nice Tennessee shirt on.
Well, I want to ask you about that.
Okay.
Money, man. It's the unions.
Money.
The unions gave money to the Democrats. The unions gave money to the Democrats. Guess what the Democrats gave them in return?
The right to organize.
Public employee unions.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. That's exactly how it happened.
All right, so a number of questions on the line. Let's get to them in order that they came in. 8403 writes in, Fri-Jay, with the new Tennessee immigration law passing and also the crackdown on employers hiring illegal aliens, what would be the likelihood that a law could be passed to make it illegal to rent homes or apartments to illegal aliens? I've been wanting to submit this idea to lawmakers. I don't know if you know a lot about this, Jay, but we just passed an immigration law. I don't know that portions of this immigration law are going to pass muster within the court systems in the state of Tennessee because it made it illegal for city councilors in individual cities to vote in favor of sanctuary city status.
Yeah, that's an issue of local governments versus state governments. I haven't looked at what that law is in Tennessee, but that's can a state make it illegal to rent property to illegals? I say yes.
Okay,
they can do that.
Okay,
I think they can do that.
I mean, just like it's illegal to.
What's illegal to hire them?
I was about to say it's illegal for me to knowingly. I mean, and the key word is knowingly, right? I mean, it's illegal for me to knowingly hire an illegal alien in the state of Tennessee, or really, I think, across the United States of America.
Absolutely. There's no question. It's been illegal since Ronald Reagan was president.
But what these businesses do, though, and you and I've talked about it for a long, long time. They're like, look, I'm not the law. They presented paperwork. What am I supposed to do?
Well, and because the law is tricky, man. If somebody presents you a Social Security card that appears to be valid, and you verify them, you run it through the database, and it comes back and it says, yeah, this person's here illegally. You can't refuse. It's now illegal for you to refuse to hire them because you think they're illegal. That's how difficult it is to comply with the laws.
And see, that's a tricky wicket. I mean, that's tough on businesses that are trying to do the right thing, but they don't want to get sued if they presume something is fraudulent and it turns out to be real.
Okay, but now here's the tough one, and we get this one a lot. You hire a guy, he gives you a Social Security card, and then it comes back and it's not a match. That name does not match that number.
Mm-hmm.
And you go to him and say, hey, what's going on here? He says, okay, well, I'll fix that. But you have to give him a right to, figure it out. The next day he comes in, gives you another Social Security card, different name, different number. Now what do you do?
Wow.
Because now, and we advise clients about this all the time. I think the advice we give now is, well, you now are on notice that this person is probably committing fraud. If they come to you on Monday and say, my name's Matt Murphy and here's my Social Security card, and it doesn't match, and then they come back Wednesday and say, no, it's actually Jay St. Clair, something's up. But even then, it's not perfectly clear that you can refuse to hire that person because of those sequence of events. Hey, Chris, is Chris listening? Hey, Chris.
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Do you know what my favorite color is?
Green.
Gray. You know why I like gray?
Why is that?
I turn it into green.
Yeah.
Gray areas of the law make me a lot of money.
You know what Jay and I do? We've been doing this for 20 years. You know what we do? I carefully and methodically separate white and black. And so you got black and you got white. You got black and you got white. And Jay comes along and mooshes it all together and makes gray.
Yeah. Well, the only black and white really in the world that exists are the Tennessee Vols, the Florida Gators.
What is that shirt you're wearing, Jay? Look,
I want to get. Let me see if I can show this here. Can you see this here?
I'm on a little bit of a delay, so you got to show it off, and then I see the T up there.
Do you see it now?
No, hold on. Let's let the delay catch up. I'm on a little. They don't let me get the live. Oh, there. Here you come. It says College Scholars.
Yes, that is the program that I went through at Tennessee. If I could show it down a little bit further, it was established in 1973. I went there in 1976. Great program, Matt. Love College Scholars. It was a program that allowed me to design my own major.
Oh, wow.
And oh yeah, it was just great. I had my advisor was a full professor, and we called them tutors. And it was incredible. It was like being in a small liberal arts college in the middle of a 30,000 student university. I absolutely loved my time at UT. Absolutely loved it.
Well, it's a nice shirt. That's a fine looking shirt.
Yeah.
All right, Jay, real quick. If any of the Biden family, and I'm going to create an assumption here on a side, I'm assuming that the question is about the Biden family members that have been pardoned. Right. But if any of those Biden family members breaks a federal law in the future, does it breach their pardon?
Absolutely not. No, the pardon only looks backwards. It does not go into the future. It only goes into the past. So no, they have no protection going forward.
just what has been, what not necessarily what
Well,
will
they've
be.
been unburdened by what has been. Did you see where somebody in the Trump White House, there was a Kamala Harris website page or what? Have you seen this? This is hilarious.
I don't think I have.
Oh, well, you got to find this. I mean, this is brilliant. And I don't know how they did this. And maybe it was official government website or something. Anyway, if you go there now, it flashes up 404, right? Which is the error message. And it says underneath that this website has been unburdened by what has been. I'm not making this up, Matt. It is hilarious.
But it's a Kamala Harris website.
Yeah, I think it was like their campaign website or something.
Okay.
Maybe once they lost, they just abandoned it.
Maybe it's Kamala. I'm going to look it up. KamalaHarris.com. See if we can find that. Yeah, they probably did. I mean, what do they need it for? So
they just put up, the error message, and this webpage has been unburdened by what has been.
KamalaHarris.com still works. Ugh. There's a big old picture of her right there.
Well,
Ugh.
you'll find it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Jay, real quick. So Donald Trump initiated a hiring freeze in government. Is that under his authority?
Absolutely.
Okay.
He's the CEO. They don't have to hire anybody. There's no law that says you have to hire X number of people a day, a week, a month, or whatever.
Did you see this? My favorite employment-based story, and have saved it for last, was I guess Donald Trump has been somewhat inspired by maybe his friendship with Elon Musk. I don't know. Yeah. I don't want to read too much.
I guarantee you they talked a lot about how he downsized Twitter.
But there are 2.3 roughly million employees in the federal government.
Right.
And the Trump administration wanted a way for the head honcho to communicate with everybody.
An all-employee email. I mean, everybody sees that.
I bet you guys at Littler have an ability for everybody at Littler to get an email, right?
I get one every day, and it's to all employees.
Right. And
almost every company has that. I'm sure y'all have that.
We do. I mean, and so Mary Berner, our CEO, can send us an email from her desk, go to every employee, or locally we have a Nashville-based all-staff email, right? So only Nashville people will get it. Well,
yeah, it just makes sense.
So I bet you've seen the story where Donald Trump.
Oh, absolutely. No, I looked at it. I can tell you all about it.
All right, tell me about this. What's going on? They just wanted to send emails to everybody, and people are mad about
it. This shows you how bad it has gotten, Matt. This shows you how bad it is. Yeah. So somebody, I don't know if it's Elon or somebody, but they say, well, where's your all-employee email? Well, we don't have one. Well, what do you mean you don't have an all-employee email? Put one together.
Right.
And so they did. And then they sent it out and said, hey, if you get this, let us know. Make sure we got everybody. Well, somebody went ballistic over that. Why? Well, I don't know. I have some ideas. But this is how bad it is, man. Apparently, here's what their argument is. Well, there was a law passed back in 2002 that before anybody in the government creates a new database, they have to do a study, like an environmental impact statement. They have to do a digital security analysis to make sure that this new database can't be, what's the word when you break into something?
Like breached, or hacked.
Yeah. Hacked. Yeah. You got to do some kind of saying you didn't do that. And so you violated the law. Just putting together an email distribution list for all employees. It's crazy, man. It just, and the fact that they would have this law on the books to try to stop this. But did you ever look at the thing when Elon was talking about when he was going to shoot his rockets up? Mm-hmm. The government came to him and said, well, you got to prove to us you're not going to kill any sharks.
Was it sharks or what? I think it was whales.
No, it started with sharks.
Oh, did it start with sharks?
And so then he says, okay, well, give me the data on sharks. And we said, well, we can't do that. It's another department over in the West Coast that has that. We don't trust them. So, no, we can't give it to you. So he took months to do a study on whether a rocket landing in the Pacific Ocean is going to hit a shark. And they got through that and everything was fine. And they said, okay, now let's talk about whales. And they says, well, what? And they said, well, can your rocket hit a whale? And like Elon, I'm growing to like him more and more, man.
Yes.
And you got to hear him tell the story. It's so funny. He says, well, and so I told him, I said, well, it's a big ocean. You don't know. And they said, well, how many whales are there? And they said, we don't really know. And he says, well, I'm going to be honest with y'all. If one of my rockets hits a whale out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, it was probably his day.
It was probably meant to be.
It was just meant to be. That's what that crazy lawsuit.
That's awesome. Well, but
hey, Chris, you know what the two things they had to file that lawsuit?
What's that?
Oh, Chris, don't let me down like that.
Something about a ham sandwich?
$400 and a crayon.
Oh, a crayon. Yeah, there you go.
Come on, Chris, get with the program.
By the way, that is the official White House website. I don't know that it's still up, but the White House digital team in the transitionary period for the office of Kamala Harris, and one of our listeners sent it to me. It's the 404 message, and it says, this page is unburdened by what has been. Thank you for giving me that love, Jay.
Oh, it's just brilliant.
Great Fri-Jay edition. Thank you, my friend. We'll talk to you next week. Appreciate you.
See you, buddy.